Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Roots Refuge Farm. I don't know what we're going to get into in this vlog yet today, but I had to start it by telling you guys a story that happened this week that has got to be one of the coolest things that has happened to me from being a content creator. So I've been making content for like 6 years very regularly now, and obviously reach a very large audience. A single video can reach the population of a good-sized city. Like, that's a lot of people. And for me, a lot of times I see the numbers, but I don't really necessarily register that being such a wide audience. It's probably better that way for me to just pretend like I'm just hanging out with one person in my garden. But I got a message the other day, and of course, occasionally there will be some cool connectivity that happens, like small world things where somebody will be like, hey, you know, I think maybe we knew each other in elementary school, or different things like that. Stuff like that has happened, and that's neat. This one, though, tops the rest. The other day, I get this message from somebody, and she said, hey, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think my dog may be your dog's sister. I've had countless messages from people saying, oh, Bear looks just like my dog, such and such, so-and-so, whatever. And so I'm used to hearing that. And Bear is a German Shepherd mix, and German Shepherds have pretty strong genetics. So like a German Shepherd mix, a lot of them look very similar to each other. So I get it a lot. So this girl sends me a message and says, hey, I think my dog is related to your dog. She said, I've recently found your channel, and every time I would see Bear on a blog, I would think, man, that looks just like my dog. She said, then the other day you posted for the 6-year anniversary of bringing him home, and it made me realize that it's like the same timeline of when I brought my dog home. And she said, then I went back and was watching your old vlogs, and you mentioned Valonia, Arkansas, and I knew that now you lived in South Carolina, but I didn't know you had ties to Arkansas. She's a fairly new viewer. And so she messaged me and said, where did you get Bear? And we figured out that we did indeed get our dogs from the exact same litter from the same people, and that she does indeed have Bear's sister. And actually a friend of hers has Bear's brother. There were 2 males in that litter. And I actually have pictures of that male dog when he was little, because I heavily debated between Bear and his brother. I knew I wanted to get a male, and I held both of them for like, I don't know, probably like an hour each. I hung out there for a long time, and the lady who had them was super sweet and enjoyed the company. But I sat and it took a long time. I ended up settling on Bear because he was the runt and he had dew claws, and the dog I grew up with was the runt of the litter and had dew claws, and that's what made the decision. Y'all, I kid you not, these dogs that are Bear's brother and sister are identical to him. They look so much like them. And so we went back and forth sharing notes about our dogs, and she was like, well, does he like laying on his back? We call it corpse time. And so I send her a picture of Bear on his back because he lays that way all the time, and she sends me a picture back of her dog laying the exact same way. And apparently that these litter mates of Bear's have the exact same like laid back personality, always underfoot. They chose their person, they stay with them, they're great with the kids, they're great with other animals, but like Bear has been the best dog ever, and apparently his litter mates also have been. Is that not so cool? I just thought that was the coolest thing that this connectivity could have brought. I mean, and it's minor, it's just a little thing, but I seriously like teared up seeing these pictures, because Bear has been such a huge blessing to me, and I've wondered what happened. He was like from an accidental litter where basically this woman had a German Shepherd, and she'd gotten out and ended up getting bred by a livestock guardian King Shepherd, and anyway, if I could have another Bear this moment, I would take it. But like he's one of those that I would always said was once in a lifetime. But apparently there's a couple more in the lifetime that came from the same litter. Hey, I just gave them some chews because they were out back going potty, and they get to lay down and chew when they come back in. Hey, Lulu. But yes, Bear's. I showed him the pictures of his brother and sister that look just like him. But you know, obviously he's a dog, so he didn't pay any attention. Last night I was going through like exchanging these messages and getting these photos in, and just so tickled. I mean, it just really blessed my heart, because Bear has been such a great gift. If you're a dog person and you've had a soulmate dog. So I had a dog that I grew up with named Pooch that was just my best buddy, and he passed away when I was 9. My parents had him for years before I was born. He was an old man when he died, and it just wounded me so deeply. It was just like it was the first loss I ever experienced, and it was a deep one. And Bear was, I've had, you know, multiple dogs and dogs that I loved and was close to, but never quite like that until Bear came. So he's been just like such a sweet gift. I just can't even convey. You know, if you know, you know. It's one of those situations. Like if you've had a dog like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, sorry, you might not understand the emphatic emotion behind it. And so it tickled me so much. And you know, last night Jeremiah, who is not really the biggest dog person, he's like, yeah, that's really cool, that's crazy. But I'm like, no, you're not freaking out about this enough. And so I called my mom and my sister, who are like majorly big dog people, and I was like, I have to tell you this. And it's funny, my sister's like holding her fussy baby, and I'm telling her, can you believe this? And she's like, that she agreed that it was absolutely very, very cool, even if Bear himself did not realize how awesome it was. He just has this little chew stick right now that he's happy about. Beef trachea, that's what it is. And Lulu too. She's looking a little messy because it's been rainy outside today. So Lou has pretty long hair right now. We keep her cut real short over the summer, but we've let it grow out over the winter so that, you know, I mean, so when she goes outside, she's not cold. Hey guys, it's the next day. I don't know if you could tell, but the first half of this video, or the first part of this video, won't be half, but I was feeling really poorly. I told y'all last week that Maya was having the sinus crud that was going around, and we kiss a lot, so I ended up with it. And yesterday I was a mess. It's hilarious. So I have, every week I meet on a video chat with my friend Morgan, and we talk about all manner of like creative things and processes and share different projects we're working on, and I love it. It's just a great time. Yesterday I told him, I'm like, when I don't feel good, like if I have a fever, if I'm not feeling good, I am the world's most emotional person. And I sure enough did end up crying on that video chat, being like, I just love these days and these conversations. He didn't mind, he's precious. But I then shot the video telling you guys about Bear, and I had to stop because I was like, I'm gonna end up, this is gonna be one of those videos where I just cry my face off the entire time if I don't stop. All right, progress report in the greenhouse. Check this out. We have the legs in place for my table, and I now have a hose in the greenhouse. Isn't this awesome? I've got actually a split hose, so I have 2, which is great, and I can now water my plants, which they don't need it, but I will demonstrate with a little bit of water. That's a pretty big deal. Up until this point, of course, we've been dragging a hose over and bringing it in, but having water in the greenhouse is extremely convenient. And the next step Maya is going to be working on is the table, and he's working on a couple of things to help kind of shore this up a little bit and hopefully help it hold heat a little bit better. And then working on the vents some, because we have these automatic fans now, and they're great as far as venting goes, but they are letting a lot of heat out, and then also they're really loud, which is not necessarily a huge problem, but considering I make a lot of videos in this space, it can be a little bit of a hindrance. So a lot of times I turn them off and I just sit in here and like sweat when I'm making videos. So he's exploring some options for that and potentially other ways to vent without the noise and without the leakage of heat. So I was just noticing that my bull's blood beets are all up really nicely. Actually, these need some water. Those are starting to look a little dry on top. This is chamomile, but that is not chamomile. That looks, honestly, it looks like a tomato seedling, but maybe not. We'll just have to see what that is. Oh, no, that's calendula. No wonder, it all makes sense now. That's chamomile. This is so convenient. All of these have enough water. I guess the top shelf dried out a little faster, which makes sense. Oh, look. Look at the little baby sweet pea flowers. Aren't those the sweetest things? Happy birthday, little guys. I always enjoy thinning the brassicas out because I snack on them. These are all broccolis, which at this point, they're microgreens. Sometimes I will intentionally sow extra seeds, depending on what they are. Sometimes I'm really stingy when I sow seeds and I'll just put one single seed in each pot, and if I don't get good germination, then I'll just go back and sow another one later. But if it's something I have excess seeds of, I will sow them thick. I did not have excess seeds of these, but I'll sow them thickly just so I can eat the microgreens. You know, I've grown microgreens before, multiple times, but I've never really consistently like kept them going. This spring, however, I'm planning on hopefully having a couple of trays of microgreens going consecutively throughout the springtime. Since we're going to be wrapping up, finishing the greenhouse, and it'll be like done once and for all. Last year, we were really trying to get all these projects done last year, but we were juggling so many things, and when it came down to actually starting seeds, I just had to do it. But I ended up starting a lot of seeds, but things like microgreens, I kind of held off because I was like, well, I don't want more that's in the way of the work. And then we ended up not being able to ever get to this. And at some point, I finally told Jeremiah, don't worry about it. Just, you know, get it done by seed starting time next year. So he's kind of had the deadline in his mind of mid-February, which is when I like to really get all of my summer garden seeds started. And he's going to meet that deadline this year. And I'm going to start microgreens. I showed you guys a couple weeks ago that I had some irises trying to bloom. Of course, then we had those really cold nights, so I don't know if those buds will ever open up. It definitely damaged these a lot. I'm always thinking like one step ahead of where we are. I've been looking at lots of like springtime cookbooks. Today, just now, while I was in the house, I was looking over asparagus recipes and dandelion recipes and nettle salads and arugula things, pestos, all kinds of really great stuff. And it's not that far from now, you know. We've got the asparagus pruned. That'll probably start popping up in a month or so, which is pretty cool. Springtime really is around the corner. Don't want to rush winter. Don't want to rush wet rest. But also, yeah, I kind of do want to do that. Hey, chickies. Hey there, cuties. They had a wet morning. Smells so good in here. Y'all, sometimes I'll read cookbooks and I'll get really inspired. And I'll find recipes for things that I have growing in my garden and kind of have the anticipation of how I'm going to use them. I saw this one recipe. It was kind of like potatoes gratin, but it was beets, turnips, carrots, which the turnips, of course, you could probably put rutabagas in place of them, or you could just add rutabagas to it. They're very similar to turnips. And it was those things really thinly sliced and then cooked in cream with like cheese on top. It looked really good. And I have still a few beets right now that are in the ground. I have a lot more that are planted. But I was coming out here looking at my seedlings, and I'm such a creeper. Whenever I read a good recipe and I know I have something like growing in the garden but that's not ready yet, I'll just come out and I'll look at it like, oh, I know what I'm going to do with you. Here it is. That's the beets. Those are either rutabagas or turnips. I can't remember. But, yep, I know what I'm going to do with you. We definitely ended up with some frost damage in the high tunnels also. Some of the plants, like this cilantro, got a little zapped. And with anything like that, a lot of times with frost damage on, let's say like a kale plant or collards or something that's not necessarily like a heading plant, you can just cut the dead part off and then it'll grow back fresh. With with a heading plant, you know, if you have a head of cabbage that's young and it gets damaged, you might not really get much out of that. Sometimes they'll do little side shoots and stuff. What I usually do when I have something that's like heading that gets frost damage is I usually just go ahead and pick it and use what I can of it right then, because if you've got that damaged part on like a head, it can't repair itself where it's mushy, and with it being mushy, likely the whole thing will start rotting. So brassicas are pretty sturdy dudes though. Like all of these, I don't see much damage at all. That may be, but that may also be something else. Could be from a bug. When I came out here the day after our really, really cold night, a lot of this stuff was sort of laid over, but it's for the most part perked back up. These sweet pea flowers did not really recover, but you know, there's still some in here that look okay. Today was my town day. I have a day every week that I spend most of the day down at my office, record podcasts and do stuff like that. And it was raining, so it was a good day to have a town day. Sometimes I'm flexible on that because of the weather. You know, if I have a day that I'm planning on being in my office, but then I look at the forecast and that's going to be like my only nice day, I'll switch it up and mostly try to do inside work on raining days, do outside work on nice weather days, do kitchen work whenever there's not a bunch of people at my house, and try to manage that. But I wanted to walk out here and take a look at everything since the rain stopped, and of course bring you guys with me. Tonight we're actually taking our children to eat at a restaurant because we're celebrating that today all 5 boys got a honor roll, and so we're honoring them by taking them to one of their favorite places. So that's pretty cool. If smell-o-vision was a thing, I would totally give you a whiff of this high tunnel right now because it smells like life in here. Hey birds! Oh, they see me. We were driving out the other morning when it was so cold. It got down to, okay, so the weather app said 15 Fahrenheit, which is -9 Celsius. My car said 11 Fahrenheit, which is -11 Celsius. So either way, it was really cold. That's very cold for around here. Especially here, like in South Carolina, we've just been redesignated as Zone 8, A or B. I don't know, I don't pay a ton of attention to that stuff, but for Zone 8, that's about as cold as it gets on average. Either way, it was very chilly. That's why some of the plants have damage. We were pulling out that morning, and the little pond, the big pond will get ice around the edges when it's real cold like that for a couple days, but the little pond is in most places more shallow, and it froze over. Like, it was thin ice. I definitely would not have stepped on it at all, but it was thin ice. And my kids were like, oh man, because when the pond freezes over, they love throwing stuff out on it. Last year, we got really cold for multiple days and it did not get above freezing. And the pond froze over enough then that the kids were actually walking along the edges. I reiterated to them the safety of that, that they were not allowed to walk out onto the pond. But I told them it was fine to step on the edges. So I was like, you might end up with a cold foot, but don't go further than the edge. But yeah, this time wasn't that much. And I don't know what the rest of the winter holds, obviously, but it's very likely that that's our last really cold snap, because there are winters here that it never gets that cold a single time. The first winter we were here, it never did. I'm definitely not cut out for it, I'll tell you that right now. You guys are sharing your weather with me, and I'm dumbfounded. Like, props to you. I'm a frost tender flower through and through. Give me the heat, the humidity. I will sweat all day, every day through the summer, and I won't complain about it. But I cannot do the cold like that. It really is a lot of work farming in that weather. Those of you who do this like throughout the whole winter, truly props to you, because I really can't fathom it. It's hard. It's just a lot more work, having to deal with water and freezing. And a lot of you guys shared your systems in a comment on the previous video about how you manage, and I'm just like we don't have to do that. It's wild. My friend Morgan, who I was talking about, he lives up where it's very cold. I say he lives in Narnia, and he's shared videos and stuff. Multiple of you commented that. It's funny when I was trying to see the heron and he took off. He's so beautiful. Or she. I guess it could be a she. It's funny, I have so many good friends who make content. I make content, and we very rarely watch each other's videos. And that might seem weird, but like a lot of my in real life friends, like the people who I hang out with, don't watch my videos. Some do, and I mean I don't mind either way. But for me, with the time that I'm managing, really my children are my biggest time commitment. I've been making this walk daily, coming down the driveway. Normally I turn back around and go back down the driveway and through the gardens. But lately I've been coming across the field and circling this area where our house is going to be, because that project is getting so close to like breaking ground. We're doing all the, you know, the paperwork things now, making a lot of decisions and getting ready to start moving forward. And it's really sweet. This is such a dream for him, and I've shared this with you guys, and I'll probably keep talking about it because it's the biggest thing that's happening in our life right now. And watching him he was very cautious at first. Like, he really will hold his excitement just to protect himself from disappointment. I get that. But I'm watching his excitement like come alive. It is so rewarding to watch somebody you love have their dreams come true. It really is, and I love it. So I keep coming out here. We marked our house spot with these stakes. He did a vlog about that on his channel on Maya's workshop. We actually might end up moving those just a tad. We're probably going to move these chickens out and really do some more measuring, but this is more or less it, and it's really given us something to visualize. And also I asked you guys for information on like good groups, and some of you suggested a home building group called, I think it's called New Home Building Q&A. It's on Facebook, and that has been extremely helpful, just because I don't know about any of this stuff. Like, I don't know what options there are for countertops and like different things like that. And of course we have our contractor friend who's helping oversee the job, and we're going to be doing a lot of things ourselves. I just don't even know what the options are. That group has been really helpful to kind of help me get familiarized with the decisions I'm going to be making. It's all so great and so wonderful. Well, I just wanted to pop in, go on a little walk with you guys. Yesterday, I just had to share the very cool happening of finding my dog's litter mates and knowing them some. It's fun to be able to share the little and the big joys with you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me today. God bless you. Until next time.